Blessed day, guys, and peace be upon you this morning. So in this video, we're going to learn how to configure PPP 1, which is a point-to-point protocol wide area network. Okay, so we've started our videos on wide area networks, and the first protocol that we're going to configure is point-to-point protocol. Okay, all right, so I'll open our Google spreadsheet and let you know that we are in number 22, which is the third last topic under routing technologies. All right, okay, so basically what's PPP? PPP stands for point-to-point protocol. As the name suggests, it's a point-to-point, so we should have two endpoints or two nodes, for example site A and site B. So if you want to implement a wide area network between site A and site B, we can use PPP, which is point-to-point protocol. All right. So without any further ado, I will open a notepad to highlight the steps that we want to follow to achieve the objective. So this first step is always to decorate the draw the topology. We decorate and comment, right? Okay. So just make sure you have a 2911 router, 2960 switch, and two computers in every site. Okay. All right. And here at the center, just leave it blank because there are things that we're going to explain. So for PPP to work, for a point-to-point protocol to work between two routers, then we need to use a serial cable, a serial connection. Okay. All right. So by default, these are the serial cables, serial DCE or serial DTE, the two here. Okay. This is serial DCE and this is serial DTE. So if you can just try one and do here, and you can see there are no serial ports, so it's our responsibility to add the serial ports manually. So what I'm gonna do, just click on the router, then power it off. Here, just power it off first, then drag this HWIC-2T and place it in the first slot. Turn on the route again and do the same for this route. Okay, so after doing that, we can now use just automatic to connect them. It will choose the serial cable. You can see now there's a serial connection between site A and site B, and now we can proceed to implement point-to-point protocol. All right, so the second step is to configure IP addresses to routers interfaces and the computers. So just do a quick comments. Let's say we're using that network between those two routers, and on this side we're using this network. Alright, so I've done the decoration, and as you can see, on this side we have this network, and on this side we have this network, in the middle we have this network, and we need to implement which protocol? PPT wide area network, right? Okay, so let's just configure IP addresses to the router's interface such that this interface will be 192.168.10.1, this will be 20.1, okay? Such that this one be maybe 10.10.10.1 and this one 10.10.10.2, okay? Shall start, right? Okay, so let me just demonstrate. This interface is gig 00. So we go to gig 00. First turn it on, okay? 192.168.10.1, okay? That's subnet mask. Then we go to serial 03, which is serial 030, okay? All right, then we turn it on and configure IP address of 10.10.10.1, okay, with the subnet mask of 255.255.252, okay? All right, so we do the same for this side also, okay? All right, so for this gig 00 20.1, then serial 030 10.10.10.2. Do it very fast this time. All right, so we've done IP address configuration both on the routers, interfaces, and the computers. So the next step is to configure OSPF and test communication. So before you can configure a point-to-point WAN protocol, point-to-point protocol, which is a WAN technologies, we need to configure OSPF so that this router and this router can form neighbors before any encryption or authentication takes place. Okay, all right, so let's just go here and we do OSPF very fast step time. We just say router OSPF with the process ID of let's say today let's use 25. Okay, then a router ID of 1.1.1.1. Okay, then we advertise the networks of there are two networks 10.10.10.0 with the wildcard mask of 0.0.0.3 area 0. Another network is 192.168 or 168.10.0, a wildcard mask of 0.0.0.255 area 0. Exit and do right. Then we go to the other side and configure SPF also, right? Okay, so how do you configure SPF here? Very simple. We just say router SPF, the process ID of 25, then a router ID of let's say 1.1.2.2. okay, then the network of 10.10.10.0 0.0.0.3. There's a problem here. Area 0. Other network is 192.168.20.0 with the wildcard mask of 0.0.0.255 area 0. Yes, exit and do right. Good. So we've done OSPF. So let's test communication from this side to this side. So this IP address is you can see it's 10.10.10. I mean 192.168.10.10, and this IP is 192.168.20.10. So I'm just going to try to ping 192.168.20.10. So it will ping because we've successfully configured OSPF to enable routing between multiple networks. Okay, so the next step is to configure point-to-point protocol. So guys, basically the main advantage of point-to-point protocol, it's a type of wide area network protocol. So it enables authentication and encryption between two sites. Okay, so before this site communicates with this site, there must be authentication and encryption happening. Okay, so the first step is to configure hostname, username, and password. Right, so let's configure hostname here. Hostname, I would like you to be very careful in whatever I'm doing now, because if it doesn't work the way I'm doing it, yours will not work. So let's just say site A. No, site A like that. Okay, be very careful. Good. Then before I configure username and password, I go to this site and I say hostname site B, and I hit enter. Right? Okay, so it's the time to configure username and password. So this is where confusion normally comes, and it's where things don't normally work. So whenever you are configuring a username and password, remember we've configured hostname, but now we need to configure a username and password. So how do we do it? We just say username, then you write the host name of the node here, the neighbor here. The host name here is site B. So you write the username as the host name of the opposite side. Be very careful this place. So just say site B, then password, anything you like, but make it consistent between the two routers. So Cisco is the password, and it must be the password here. So for username, when you are writing username here, when you are creating username here, then the username there should be the hostname of this router. When you are writing username here, when creating username here, then that username should be the hostname of this router. The same thing that you've done here. Very, very important, because if you don't do it this way, it will not work. Good. So we go to this side also and configure the username to be the hostname of site A, which was, it will just site A. Just say site A. Then we do what we do. Just say password. Password, make it consistent, Cisco, and we hit enter. All right. So we've done hostname, username, and password. So what do we do now? We go into actual PPP configuration. How do we configure PPP? The first thing that we do, we enter the interface through which we want to configure PPP. It's this serial interface. I said earlier that we only implement PPP in serial interfaces. So we go here, okay? So we just go there. So we just go interface serial 030, okay? Then we rate this command encapsulation. What type of encapsulation do you want? Let's query. There's a frame relay, HDL, HDLC, and PPP. We are interested in configuring PPP, and we hit enter. All right. And then after you've specified that you want to use PPP as the encapsulation method, then you just go here, PPP again. Then you say authentication to use query. There's CHAP and PAP. So CHAP basically stands for Challenge Handshake Authentication Protocol, and PAP is Password Authentication Protocol. So PAP is not secure, but CHAP is secure because CHAP encrypts the password, but PAP displays the password into plain text. So we need to use CHAP, okay? And you hit enter and just exit. You realize that our neighbor was detached, okay, whenever we tried to use encapsulation. So we need to configure encapsulation on the other side so that we can restore the neighbor, okay? All right, so let's go to this side and configure PPP. Okay, so what do? We just enter the interface, which is serial 030. Okay, then we say encapsulation to be PPP, okay, and we hit enter. After this we just say PPP to use which authentication? To use which authentication? CHAP as the method of authentication. You exit and we do right. So let's just give it time. Let's give it some time. Then the neighbor will be formed again. So if I can just say do show IP OSPF neighbor. Oh, okay guys, so what I've just done, I've just reloaded these routers. You can see what I did. I just reload, and you can see the neighbors have now been formed. Okay, so if you stay long without forming the neighbors, just do reload. Okay, all right. So if I can just say show IP OSPF neighbor, you can see we have the neighbor on that side. Okay, so normally just reload. Even on this side I did reload. You can see here, oops, it's up, you cannot reach it. Okay, so just reload. Whenever it doesn't work, just try to reload. Being that you've configured the username and password correctly the way I've said, make sure the username is the host name of the opposite router, but the password remains the same. Okay, then make sure encapsulation PPP, then PPP to use authentication of CHAP. Okay, first enter the interface, right? Okay, so if I can just say enable, if I can just say show interface serial 0/30. Remember, this is the serial where we implemented the WAN technology. You can see we're using encapsulation of PPP, and you can see there are some 21 packets here received, 1428 bytes. And if you can just try to ping again, let's try to ping again, you will see the packets are increasing. Oops, just give it some time. I did reload the routers. So I did reload the routers. Remember, encapsulation, encryption and authentication is happening. So that's why there's a latency. Okay. All right. So let's just go back to the router and let's go to this one that area. Okay, where? Here, yeah. Yes. So the first time we saw 21 packets. So I'll try to you issue the same command again. You can see the packets have increased. Okay, then encapsulated packets. Okay. Alright, so I believe this video has really helped you now how to configure PPP1 protocol. Okay. Alright, so I'll just mark this section as done. Okay, so when we meet next, let's do WAN technology using GRE VPN, then finally IPsec VPN. Thank you so much, guys. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, share with friends, and let's see you again in the next video. Bye.